Hey Wanderers,
I'm Amanda.
and I'm Ron.
Welcome to Wanderlost.
This is Military Chatter.
So, once a week on Tuesdays, we bring you guys a video about life in the military. And this is the end of a series that we've been doing about living in the military, moving in the military.
Moving in the military.
Right, specifically like the different ways that there are to move and the different places that you can live around the bases and that kind of stuff. So today is our Q&A for moving in the military. So I'm going to get our questions.
Yeah, thanks you guys for watching the videos and the wonderful comments that you guys leave and for leaving questions so that we can explore a little further into what you guys wonder about.
So question number 1, how do you like living overseas compared to living in the States?
So what I love about living overseas is the ability to travel and see new things. It's one of the reasons we joined the military and the Air Force was to see things, and we've been blessed to have 2 overseas assignments. You don't always get that, and so just the ability to travel and see things. And I think Spain, it was much better than Turkey just because we knew more. When we were in Turkey, it was our second assignment, first time we'd moved, first time any of us had been overseas, period. And so when we went to Spain, we knew much better what we were doing, and I think we had a lot more fun and we traveled a lot better.
Yeah, plus I know a lot more Spanish than I know Turkish, so. So my favorite thing, or what's a big difference about living overseas and living stateside, is that you're kind of all sharing the same experience when you live overseas together. So like you see the same people at the commissary and at the restaurants on base because there's not that many options. So you just see everybody. And so when there's an event, like we just had Easter this past weekend, when there's an event on base, like an Easter celebration, everybody comes because there's not anything else for them to go and do. So you just spend a lot more time with the same people, and you do life together more there when you're overseas than you do when you're stateside. So the question said, how do you like living overseas? We definitely like it better for the adventures that you get to go on and for the closeness that you have with the people. What about that's better stateside?
I guess one of the things better stateside, especially for me, is while I love the closeness when we were at both of our overseas locations, as a chaplain, you see everybody everywhere. And so you are always the chaplain. And while as chaplains we are on 24/7 and we're there for airmen at all the time, stateside is a little easier to just detach and go be Ron somewhere.
Have a day off.
Yeah, have a day off. Because you can, go get lost somewhere where there's nobody who knows what you do. So that's, it's not a huge thing that I didn't like or anything like that, but it is nice over here that it's much easier to, when you take leave and you're out somewhere, you're just you. Where overseas, everybody still knows who you are, unless you're at an extremely large base, which we've not experienced overseas before. But especially at the bases we were at, they were small enough that you were still on even when you were off.
So I think the thing I like best about stateside is the ability to talk to everybody. It's not something that you appreciate as much until you're placed in the middle of Turkey and you're like, oh, I can't talk to anybody. So I like that I feel like I know how things work here, and if I have a question about something, I know where to go to find the things that I need to find. And so it's just a level of comfort that you have, that I have stateside, that I didn't have when we were overseas. And the ability to just drive for days. Like, you can't do that overseas either. Like, road trips, well, number one, they're expensive because gas is very expensive over there, but just the ability to go get lost somewhere and still know that you can get back. Like, there's less security things to worry about, I think anyway, when you're stateside.
Question number 2. Do you prefer to live on post as they said, or for us on base or off base?
Yeah, so again, I think there's pros and cons to both of them. We talked about that a little bit through this series, but for me, I hate to even admit this, but I think I like it better on base. Because I was the one that kept saying, we have to live off base, we have to live off base. And now we are. And I love it. I love our house, but it's too big. Maybe I wouldn't mind it off base if we had just enough room for the four of us, but now that we're not fostering, we just have a really large house and it's too big. So.
Yeah. Oh, probably on base. I think it may be a personality thing, but because I like having my patterns and my rhythms, and that's really easy to do when you live on base. You don't have to worry about getting held up at the gate, going to work, those sorts of things. It's a lot easier to do that, and quite frankly, I like a shorter commute. Well, it's nice. I mean, everywhere we've been, even here, we're close enough, even though we're off base, where I can come home for lunch and do those sorts of things, and I really do enjoy that, especially since the boys are homeschooled. Amanda gets a lot more time with them than I do, and so it's nice to be able to come home at lunch and at least see them, even if I don't sit down and have lunch with them. I get to interact with them through the day, so I don't feel like I leave in the morning early, gym, work, and do that all day, come home and then just catch everybody at the end of the day. So I think I really do like that, and there's just a convenience factor for living on base. I think I prefer on base in the grand scheme of things, and it's one of the things we're learning as it comes to moving this time. Moving when you're living on base is extremely easy.
You think it's easier than moving off base?
Well, like this time we have to worry about the timing with selling the house, all that sort of stuff.
Well, yeah, with selling the house. But if we were renting,
it would probably be a little bit easier, but we've not done that yet. So This is the only one that I know. But when you live on base, you leave at your appointed time, make sure that it's clean, and you're good.
Right. Okay, so our last question, which is a question about the beard that you had in one of the episodes. Somebody wanted to know if you were growing a beard.
Oh, I have high aspirations, but our U.S. military has very strict standards for dress and appearance when it comes to facial hair. But we are in a season of telework right now, and so there's a little bit of looseness with that. As you can see, I'm clean shaven today because I had to go into work and put on a uniform. So shaving standards still apply. If any first sergeants are out there, I do understand that. So it doesn't get too out of control. But if I'm teleworking, and it's a long weekend and I don't have to put the uniform on, it may creep out just a little bit. All right. So last question was Amanda. Failed to hit every acronym that we hit in one of the videos, and so we mentioned when we were stationed at Colorado Springs, I was the chaplain for NORAD, which is the North American Aerospace Defense.
Right.
So
I didn't put that in. I forgot.
Yeah. So what that is that's a bilateral command between the United States and Canada. And the whole thing is about protecting our airspace.
No, it's about tracking Santa.
Well, that too. But we use the technology we use to track ballistic missiles to track Santa. It just makes
Or
things
the technology that you use to track Santa can also track ballistic missiles.
I think we started the missile tracking before we started tracking Santa.
Okay.
But it could go either way. So that's what that was, and it was a fun time when we were there. But yes, if you have little ones on Christmas Eve, NORAD will let you know exactly where Santa is, so they can make sure and make it in bed before Santa gets to the house.
That's right. So since we just wanted to take a little bit of time at the end of this to talk about the upcoming series or the upcoming things that we're going to do with Military Chatter. So next time, we will be talking about homeschooling, specifically how we do it in the military. I know that there are a lot of full-time travel families that homeschool in a different way than traditional homeschooling, and certainly different than traditional school. So we'll just talk about how we do it, why we do it, any questions that you guys have about homeschooling, you can put under this video, and we will answer them next week when we discuss what it is we do. Then what's coming up after that?
So after that, we're going to do a series on what does a chaplain do. So I think all you guys know that I'm a chaplain in the Air Force, and so we're going to spend a few episodes sort of breaking that apart and talking about what that means, because a lot of people don't really understand, what that means. Are you just an Air Force preacher, and it's a lot deeper than that. We'll say at the beginning of every episode is the opinions that will be about what it means to be a chaplain are solely mine and do not represent the Department of Defense, United States Air Force, or the Chaplain Corps. But it is from my experience of having done it for a dozen plus years at this point.
Right, and then after that series, I think we're going to be talking about what it means to be a military spouse. I've actually reached out to some people, some of my friends, and asked them some questions about how long they've been a spouse and some pros and cons they think they have about being a spouse in the military. And I've got some really interesting questions.
Nice.
Answers back. I've heard from people who have been in the military as a spouse for 28 years. And then I just heard from a little girl who has been married for 3 months. So it looks like we have a spectrum of answers from people. And if any of you guys that have been military spouses want the list of questions so that you can put your opinions in also, then I would love that. Just comment below or send us an email from to our email address, and I'll send you those questions.
I think that goes for both of those series. If you guys have questions or things that you wonder, we're going to hope to hit everything. And me specifically, I'm going to hope to hit all the major points, for being a chaplain. But if you have questions, please go ahead and throw those out there so we can make sure and cover them as we go through. And of course, we'll do a Q&A at the end of it as well. But if you already have questions that you want to throw out there, please go ahead and drop them in the comment section.
All right, guys. So I guess that's all. Nothing else about what's coming up?
No.
We have a few more things that we've been throwing around ideas about, but we'll wait till we get further along in the series and see what in the world is happening in our world by then. Yeah. And then we'll see what we decide to do or what we can do at that point. So you can end it.
Thanks for joining us. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe.
Bye, guys.
See you later. I'm Ron.
And this is Wanderlost. No, what do I say? Welcome. Do I say I'm Amanda or this is Amanda? Say I'm Amanda.